Whoa.
It's your daily dose of how to manage your money. And now it's time for Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Network.
Oh, God. Are you nuts?
With your host, Phil Grande.
Bye. Joining my podcast. So, the Dow is selling off. Everyone's wondering, gee, 500 points. How could that be? The economy's so great. Everything's wonderful. Well, remember, markets don't fall because the economy is weak, okay? Remember, the markets fall because expectations change. It's all about expectations. Now, even at a time right now that we have all these all-time new highs and just a small shock can hit, especially the Dow 30. And that's what we're seeing. Remember, all these tariffs that Trump's, oh no, I'm taking them up, all of that is still on the table. So again, the 500 point, also, you also got to remember too, 500 points. 500 points is not what it used to be. A 500 point is what, 1.2% roughly? And the 1990s, when I was traded, that would be a 10% crash. What are you, nuts? So 1.2% isn't such a big deal. But the point is, how can a 500-point drop be when stocks are hitting all-time highs? They tell us the economy looks great. But the Dow can still drop 500 points. What are you, nuts? So everything is fine. And what they're saying is, because here, I'll play the cuts. Go ahead and play the first two cuts. Here's what they're saying.
We have the strongest economy in the world. Wall Street can do well, Main Street can do well, and I think we're about to see it in spades for 2026.
Now see, Wall Street can talk bullish. That's their public message. They always do that. It's optimism. We're having a soft landing, you know, all the key words. The consumers are strong. They're making less, but they're spending more. They're strong. Boy, earnings look solid, right? And boy, do we have plenty of upside. You hear all that crap all the time from them. That's what they do. They always send a very optimistic message out to the public. Why do they do that? Well, because optimism calms down their clients. The last thing they want to hear from a client is, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? They hate that. Don't answer the phone. That's the last thing. So they always play the optimism card to keep all their clients from calling them, keep them calm. But the big thing is to keep them in the stocks. Keep them in their stocks. They don't want to lose commissions. Keep them in the system. Tell them the cost average down. No, don't tell them short though. What are you, nuts? So the whole idea is to keep the big cash, the big brokerage fees, flowing. That's what they do. But at the same time, when they're telling you everything's fine, everything's great, you just heard it, they're positioning themselves silently bearish. But you don't know that. Now, the jibber jabbers on TV and Wall Street say everything's great. But always remember, behind your back, they're positioning themselves very bearish. What do? They start buying gold. Now, remember, these guys on TV are the worst. When you see these guys on CNBC or you see them on Fox Business, they're the worst because they just read cue cards. They don't even know what the hell the market is. They think it's a piece of Swiss cheese. So Wall Street and these TV jibber jabbers always talking bullish. They always tell them, talk bullish, talk bullish. Well, the guys who are in the market, Wall Street, are repositioning themselves differently, right behind the scenes. But they don't share that with you. That's why I always tell my members, follow the money, not the noise. They're buying gold and silver, but they're telling you everything's great. They rotate into utilities, into staples, buy Coca-Cola. They hedge with options like crazy. They cut exposure to cyclical stocks. And boy, are they buying treasuries left and right. But they're telling you the cost average down, buy on the dip. Now, listen to this last cut. Why so sad, the guy says today. Watch how he fumbles up.
Stock market, new highs almost every week. I don't know about today because there's a lot of tumult around what we were just talking about. GDP, multi-year highs. Unemployment, basically, we're at full employment. Inflation, 2.7%, you could, depending on what you talk about, go down from as high as 9%. Southern border is secure. Trade deals all around the world. Trillions of dollars of investment flowing here. I was asked, where is the...
What a bunch of crap. Everything's fine. No, it's not. The Treasury's hit 4.29, the 10-year. That tells you everything's not fine. Everything's pretty bad. And here's the big problem. The high yields, and I tell my gang members this every morning, the first thing we look at is the high yields, because that's bad news. The second thing we look at is the spreads. What is the difference between the 10-year Treasury and the corporate bonds? If the 10-year Treasury and the corporate bond percentage is under 50 basis points, you're okay. That means the banks are still lending, they're still in business, they're still helping the economy. But if it gets over 50, you're screwed. But let's get back to the point. So he's talking like he doesn't know what's going on. Of course he knows what's going on. He's been positioned bearish by telling you to buy. So let's talk about what's driving the Dow 30 down. When you have the Treasury yield hit 4.29, whoa, guess what that hits? It hits the Dow first, because higher yields hit their heart of the Dow 30, the blood of the Dow 30. It hits their industrials. That's why they're called industrial stocks. Hits the banks, hits the multinationals, the core of the Dow. But they're not going to tell you that. Why would they? They're out there telling you everything's great. Well, they're out there shorting. That's why they don't want you to short. Now think what's going on. Trump's new tariff threats on 60 countries. He keeps using those tariffs as a wedge, as a weapon, and it's disrupting everything. That's why gold is going nuts. So, Trump threatens, remember the 10 to 25% tariff on 8 European nations? Then he said, oh, no, I'm going to get rid of it. He never got rid of it. He's threatening it again. He's using it as a wedge to purchase Greenland. You don't go along with me and support me in the NATO with Greenland, I'm going to hit you with a tariff. He just told France, if you don't help me buy England, don't come on my side, France, we're going to hit your wine with a 200% tariff. Now, he's not going to do any of this. Everybody knows that. But it disrupts the market. Remember, the market is about expectations. The market's looking forward. So they put in their formula that expectation that can happen. It goes into the computers, the algorithms, that expectation. So the market goes down 500 points. Now think about it. So gold is soaring. Here, take a look at some of my gold stocks. And remember, we got into GDX. I told my members in January 2025, a year ago, make sure you're in the gold, because that's where we're going to make most all our money in 2025, and we sure did. And if we look at what's going on with our gold stocks, especially our minor stocks, take a look at GDX. Look at this. Now let's go back a whole year. This is where a year ago, January, I told them to start buying, because what was happening? We had a sideways consolidation right here. See how it's on the dip? Sideways consolidation. I said, the minute that breaks out of that sideways, we're going to start buying, because it was obvious what Trump was going to do. Everybody knows what Trump's going to do. Remember, he was president for 4 years. But look how gold just keeps going up and up and up. And silver even is explosive. It's up 200% for the year. Gold's about 80% for the year. So everybody's buying gold, they're buying silver. The smart money, because they know what we're being told on Wall Street and what we're being told by the jibber jabbers on these TV shows in the morning is all crap. It's all crap. So why is gold? So when will gold collapse? Everybody's starting to ask that question. And remember, gold is in uncharted territory. It's breaking multiple all-time highs after another, one after another, one after another. Now, it's up 80% in the past 12 months. Well, silver's up 200%. Why? Because central banks are loading up on gold, more than silver, but on gold, 4,000 tons. Now, the forecasters, the geniuses on Goldman Sachs, they came out and they targeted gold would maybe hit 4,900 in 2026. Well, we hit 5,100 on January 26. Silver, as I said, is more explosive, 200% over the past year. What are you nuts? This is crazy. But again, bottom line, when will gold collapse? That's everybody's asking. Well, remember, as long as we're buying gold, not on speculation, but because we're buying gold due to the structural reasons or the fundamental reasons, just like that's why all the banks, all the worldwide banks, all the central banks around the world are buying. They're not buying to speculate. That's why gold keeps going up. Now, Micron Technologies, the stock that's holding up the whole market besides gold. Now, think about this. You got one tech stock just doing all the heavy lifting. Well, there's two, but let's say one. One is really one, Micron Technology. Why? Because MU they're the only company that can sell memory. And think about that. My God, that's like having the only car dealership in the United States, the only water pump in the United States. And just to put in perspective how crazy it is. So gold will break and collapse or correct when we go back to speculation. But that's, I think, is going to be a long time. But right now, everyone's buying gold because of the structural reasons. Think of it as the fundamental reasons behind it, okay? Because I just went over them. There's fear. And Wall Street can say everything they want. Everything they want. But and here's where Wall Street bullshits everybody. They're in there telling you, everything's wonderful, everything's great. And this guy, again, this is the one I got a kick out of today. He fumbled all around.
Stock market, new highs almost every week. I don't know about today because there's a lot of tumult around what we were just talking about. GDP.
What the hell is he saying? There's a lot of come around, old road, come around. He knows what's going on. He knows what I'm saying is true. So today, again, everyone's going to go to gold. The yields are at 4.29. They're shifting out of stocks. And this will continue. Now remember, people aren't just buying gold. They're buying industrials. They're buying copper. They're buying nickel, lithium, uranium. They're even buying grains, farmland, timber, energy. But again, when you see a day like today, and again, this is a big deal that's going on. But remember, MU represents this whole big AI bubble. It's holding it all up. But there's 7 cracks in the AI world. And anyone knows open is going to make it bad. But here's the big one. We got 4 cracks in MU. If one of those wide, you're going to get a crash. MU will be the first stock that will tell you the market's going to crash. It will tell you months in advance. So the reason gold's going up, because everyone knows the truth. Join my gang, philsgang.com, free for 10 days.